This is internationally best-selling indie author Michael Brent Collings inviting you to join me at bestsellerlife.com/DCR to unlock my tips, tricks, and hacks for a successful writing career. So go to bestsellerlife.com/DCR and kickstart your writing adventure today.
This is Daniel.
And this is Krebs.
This is Alton.
And I am Matai.
And you're listening to Dungeon Crawlers Radio, the greatest geek podcast out there.
Oh man, Dungeon Crawlers. Holy smokes, what an amazing time for announcements. I don't know about you, but I was on social media when I saw the Nathan Fillion videos dropping on Instagram and reuniting one at a time with each of the Firefly cast. Now, at first, I saw him reunite with Zoe, right? I saw the video with him and Gina Torres, and they're speaking cryptically, and she's like, "Is it happening?" "Oh, it's happening," he says in return, and they just kind of like nod to each other and that kind of thing. You guys all saw it. You know what I'm talking about. After the Gina Torres video, I saw him do the exact same thing, but with Jewel, who plays Kaylee, and I was like, oh, it's happening. This is going to be amazing. And then I saw him with Summer Glau and with Adam Baldwin and then the actor who plays Simon Tam, Sean Mayer. And I see him with Sean Mayer and then Morena Baccarin. You know, you get all of them. At that point, I had not yet seen Alan Tudyk, and I was really looking forward to that one. And I'll tell you why in a second. But before I go any further, let me just throw this out there. I am going to be talking pretty freely about what you know we're talking about, and that is going to include spoilers. So please just be warned, there will be spoilers in this particular segment. So before Nathan Fillion got to Alan Tudyk, I kind of made a prediction. And I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be hilarious? Because Alan's a funny guy. Wouldn't it be hilarious if after all these videos came out with all these different cast members, we get to Alan Tudyk, and instead of Nathan Fillion walking up to the door, it's just Alan sitting in his house reading a book, just kind of casually looking out through the blinds. And then he keeps reading his book, and then he kind of looks out there again. And then after a while, he just like parts the blinds with his fingers and just stares and goes, "Where's Nathan?" And that's just all the video we get, right? I thought that would be hilarious, given what we know about Wash and what happened to his character, right? After the film Serenity. But then Alan gets involved too, and they bring him in. And it was a funny video, but it wasn't what I expected. It ends up that they are incorporating him into the project, and Nathan says, "You know, I wasn't going to do this without you," which I think is phenomenal, and it speaks volumes to the fans. Guys, I think I can speak for most brown coats when I say we are all of us extremely excited for what the announcement was going to be. Now, I don't know if I can speak for all brown coats when we talk about how we felt after the announcement was made. So for anyone who was living under a rock, the announcement came out that they are reuniting the original cast to create more Firefly. Firefly was a single season show on Fox back in the very early 2000s. And because of the way that Fox handled the IP, it only lasted one season and it died off. But the writing was so rich and amazing. The concept was so unique but relatable. The characters were absolutely connective with the audience. They were incredible, individual, unique characters that all of us could identify with in some way or another. Firefly broke ground in myriad ways that would ultimately be appreciated by the fans, but would not be appreciated enough by the studio at the time. So after one season, it would die off. Kind of. After seeing the success that Firefly had with the audience, how much we loved the IP, even though it died on the air, Joss Whedon pushed enough that Universal Studios brought us Serenity, which was a feature-length film that takes place after the first season. And what Joss Whedon would say later is that the movie itself was what he intended the second season to be, just condensed down into a feature-length film. So we got everything that we were supposed to get in season 2, for the most part, in that film. And then nothing. We've had no new Firefly content on the screen, small or large, since 2005. Now, there have been graphic novels, there have been comics, there have been board games, card games. We have gotten some additional IP, but nothing that would join the canon of the television series or the movie in quite the same way, right? Then we get this announcement, and I was all giddy. I was all afire with it. I was like, oh yes, now. And I kept wondering, like, how are they going to do this? It's been 20 years. Everyone's noticeably older. Everyone's a little differently shaped, with the exception of Gina Torres and Summer Glau and Jewel. They're all pretty much exactly as we left them. So basically all the men are different and older and differently shaped, right? But then they made the announcement that this would not be a live action piece of content, but rather animated, that it would be an animated continuation, and that it would take place between season 1 and Serenity. That was surprising. And my initial thoughts were, oh, I didn't expect that, but I wasn't mad about it. I was actually extremely excited about it, because it did allow for the original cast to portray their characters without having to concern themselves with explaining why they're so much older than when we last saw them in season 1, and how, and then in between that and Serenity, it allows for the animation to control the visual storytelling modality, while the actors get to still present the same characters. You get the same actors with the same characters. That is going to be magical. Now, what we know so far, it's going to be an animated series helmed by Shadow Machine Animation Studio. Now, that animation studio, I had to look up to see what else they had done, because they are Emmy award-winning and I believe Oscar award-winning, if at least nominated for certain of their works, to include Robot Chicken, which everyone knows, including the Star Wars specials, which were highly praised. Then you have the Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which I never saw, but I always wanted to, and it did get nominated for some Oscars. I think it may have won, but I'd have to look that up to be sure. BoJack Horseman, and then one that really surprised me, they did the animation for Final Space, the Olin Rogers animated show, which I was absolutely stunned to hear. They've done a number of shows, many of which we would recognize, and many more of which are esoteric and far more unique and maybe less recognizable. Now, their animation style, between Robot Chicken and BoJack Horseman does not quite fit the gravitas that I want Firefly to have. However, it's unclear at this point what kind of animation style will be used for creating this show. So, are they an accomplished animation house? Absolutely they are. They have many accolades. And are they going to do Firefly justice? I actually have no doubt. Whatever they decide, whatever they do with Nathan Fillion and the rest of the gang is going to be good. Nathan Fillion posted, when they were making the announcement, he posted alongside of all the other Firefly castmates that they have Joss Whedon's blessing. They have a script. I believe it's called Still Flying. And they have this animation studio, and they have licensing permissions from Disney and from Fox, I believe it is. Or is it Universal on this one too? I can't remember who holds the rights, but they have the permissions from the right license holders. So now it's just a question of, what is the story actually going to be, and how is this going to be presented? Even more interesting is, how is it going to be received? How are we, the starving browncoats who have been wanting this to happen for so long, how are we going to react to a story being told in a medium we didn't expect, hopefully with animation that we desire? It's kind of a toss-up right now, but I am optimistic, and not just cautiously optimistic. I am optimistic that this is going to absolutely feed our starving souls that have desired new Firefly for 2 decades. One last thing I would throw out there. We know that our Dear Shepherd book, Ron Glass, the actor, passed away several years ago now. And that is the only major cast member not returning for obvious reasons. In his absence, who would we ask to be our Shepherd book? And there are many good options out there. For me personally, I want to see Carrie Payton take over for Ron Glass. Carrie Payton played Ezekiel in the live-action The Walking Dead series. He also was the voice of the king in Dragon Prince. He's also in Invincible. He's done voice acting and done it very, very well. His voice is not the exact same as Ron Glass. I get that. But he carries the same emotion, the same gravitas, the same presence, the same compassion, and the same stern, secret life behind the scenes kind of persona that Ron Glass portrayed. I think Carrie Payton could carry this better than most other actors anyone could dream up. But I also trust that Nathan Fillion and the crew are going to choose the right Shepherd book for us. Everything about this is about serving the fans and keeping Serenity in the black, right? So thank you so very much, Firefly crew, for making this happen 2 decades after everyone thought it was dead. You've done the impossible yet again, and that makes you mighty.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you like this episode, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find us.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
What happens when modern magic, high-tech weaponry, and an unstoppable dragon collide? Find out in the epic audiobook of A Dragon's Fate, brought to life by Daniel and Krebs. This Whitney Award finalist novel will pull you into a pulse-pounding world where a secret cabal battles for power, and a dragon could bring everything to an explosive end. Don't just hear the story. Feel the magic, the danger, and the action. Get ready for a ride you won't forget. Grab your copy of A Dragon's Fate, now available on Audible.